Hi, Heather.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being on SAA Storytellers. How do you feel?
I feel great. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. And thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing your story. That moment you have, which is the moment you knew, the show should be called The Moment I Knew or something like that,
Yes.
was so touching and well placed. And I think so many people are going to identify with that moment in their lives when they just literally couldn't move anymore. Like
Yeah.
something like you sort of said, it wasn't your body anymore in a way, right? You just had to
Right.
do something about it.
Right.
So thanks so much for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah.
So the other thing I want to talk about, and I don't know if we've had anyone talk about this on the show yet. You had a little driving adventure, and
I
we get
did.
questions at the office about driving all the time. So, do you
Mhm.
want to share your moment?
Sure. Yes. So last year I rented an RV and my sister-in-law and I drove 1,600 miles each way to my elderly parents to help them move into a retirement community. And the reason for the RV was so that I could bring back all the family heirlooms that didn't fit in their new little condo. And it was coming to my house. So that drive was one of the most challenging things I've ever done. And it wasn't the driving part because we've all been in traffic or driven, long periods. My gas pedal leg was in absolute agony after several hours of driving. And I do want to clarify, typically from a day to day standpoint, if I'm driving around town or to a medical appointment, my legs don't bother me, just regular driving. Driving this big beast of a vehicle for such long periods of time, and it was like 6, 8, 10 hours of driving at a time with little breaks. We would stop to stretch, or I'd rub some pain relieving gel on my sore spots. But the goal was to get there as fast as possible and then get home as fast as possible. It was really challenging and it created tremendous amount of pain in my leg and hip joints. So it was eye-opening because I didn't even realize I had that problem before that trip.
And you bring up a really good point. I bet a lot of people living with AS
Mhm.
attempt things that are necessary, but they may realize it's not the best thing for them or never
Yeah,
thought about what it would do to them. Like if it's moving boxes or, if there's a life thing going on and you have to just step up as a child or a sibling or a spouse and with your AS manage through this. So thanks for mentioning the pain relieving gel. I think a lot of people probably do use
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um, you said something else about the airport too, that you had some.
Yes,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
goodness, and again, something I didn't realize was an issue for me, and when I travel home, just to clarify, I have to go through customs. My family lives in Canada, and the airports, when you fly in, there's no direct flight, so you have to stop at a major airport and then go through customs and then get on your connecting flight. And the airports where the flights connect are typically these giant behemoth airports that have miles of walking to do before you get to the customs and back to your next gate. And this year, I flew home to help my parents out and just kind of visit. And I barely could make it through customs. I wasn't having problems with my leg before I left to go on this trip. It was fine at the time. And I got halfway to customs and I thought I was going to have to sit right down on the ground and rest for a bit. I pushed through and I got through, but my leg ended up blowing up and then it was a problem. And honestly, Sean, on the way back, I had to, for the first time in my life, I had to use wheelchair assistance from the airport coming home from the gate to customs and then back to the next gate. And I remember I was very conflicted about doing that because I felt like I might be taking something from someone else who needed it more. But I'm here to tell you that I didn't know I would need it. And then once I needed it, I know for sure I couldn't have made that next connecting flight without that help.
Mm. And we've talked about the Hidden Disabilities Program, I believe you know a little bit about that.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
hopefully that program, can help you in the future, call for
Mhm.
help, with your lanyard and all that stuff.
I'll be ordering mine today.
Yay. Um, so the last thing, thanks for sharing that. The last thing I wanted to ask was, we ask everybody who's on the project, what's a word or phrase you would share with someone who is newly diagnosed or is seeking diagnosis or going to the doctor? What's some little bit of advice, word or phrase you would tell them?
Um, I'm gonna steal one thing from Nike and say, "Just do it."
Mm.
Um, don't hesitate, don't second guess yourself because a lot of us do, and the longer you wait, the longer you're getting the longer the delay in getting started on something to help you feel better. Any long-term pain is a signal that there's a problem and you really shouldn't sit on it. So mine is just do it. Go see your doctor, be persevere and make sure you exercise self-care, find out what you need to do. Long-term pain is not something to be ignored.
Thank you so much. I think that is perfect and a perfect place to end our time together. Heather, thank you so much for working with me. It was a pleasure learning more about you and working on your story and all the time you put into it. I really appreciate it. I know it's going to help a lot of people. And also, you are a support group leader. I just want to mention that. You do great work with SAA and volunteer your time. So thank you for that. And have a good day.
Thank you so much.